After viewing a DVD about Our Lady of Good Success, we decided to visit Quito, Ecuador, to see this place that has so much faith expressed in the culture, old Spanish architecture, and miracles that rival those of Europe. Even though the apparitions of Our Lady of Good Success to Mother Mariana had been approved by the Church for almost 400 years, when we visited Quito to see the miraculous statue of Our Lady of Good Success, we were surprised to find the apparition was largely unknown by the local public, and we had a hard time finding the monastery where the statue of Our Lady of Good Success is kept. One of the prophecies received by Mother Mariana was about the problems plaguing Ecuador in the 19th century. Our Lady prophesied that a very good man would come forward and correct many of the problems in Ecuador, but that he would be executed for his faith. This was realized, and Gabriel Garcia Moreno, who became president of Ecuador in the late 19th century, started many reforms to correct the country's problems and consecrated Ecuador to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. President Moreno was assassinated in the Plaza Grande, where just off the corner, some 20 yards away, stands the monastery of the Immaculate Conception, and wherein Our Lady of Good Success appeared to Mother Mariana. A famous saying of President Moreno is, "The enemies of God and the Church can kill me, but God does not die." Or, shortened, God does not die. Dios no muere. Years later, upon exhuming President Moreno's body, it was found that his heart was incorrupt, and has since been kept in a reliquary in the Basilica of Quito, which President Moreno was in the process of building. The main spark that finally lit the devotional fervor for Our Lady of Good Success was when in 1906 the body of the seer Mother Mariana was exhumed and found to be incorrupt. It was later found that 6 of the other founding sisters of the convent were also incorrupt. Although many of the prophecies given to Mother Mariana have been fulfilled, the most interesting to us today has to be the one telling how during the middle of the 20th century the Church would lose the fullness of the faith, there would be a falling away of the priests, and there would be many scandals in the priesthood, which would bring scandal to the Church. Of course, today the scandals are too well known. In the middle of the 20th century, in 1958, Pius XII had been dying for some time. The Sacred Congregation of Rites issued an instruction on the participation in the Mass and proclaimed it to be from the Pope, by publishing it from the Pope's official publication as if it were from the Pope. A month later, a new instruction was issued by Father Lowe, who was the vice-relator of the historical section of the Sacred Congregation of Rites. This new instruction is rather confusing until one researches what a relator is, and finds that he is a person whose legal duty it is to correct a wrong which has been done by a franchised entity. The Sacred Congregation of Rites is a franchisee whose duty it is to represent the Pope. The first document, the instruction, was a revolutionary document which, if followed, would take the Church, which is normally regulated by tradition, and transform it so there would no longer be traditional rules to govern worship, and the new norm would be change. The instruction was an engine of change, that is, an instrument to bring about change, and which left unchecked would confuse the Church. Pius XII died during this critical time, before Father Lowe's job was completed. Father Lowe's job was not done satisfactorily, and it was accepted as just a commentary by most. His new instruction was a long-winded piece of air. The new instruction was obscured and lied about, which kept it from being understood by the faithful and the hierarchy of the Church. As a result, the instruction was allowed to stay in place, with change upon change, setting the stage for the Second Vatican Council. Our Lady of Good Success had prophesied some 300 years earlier that the Church would lose the fullness of the faith during this time, that the priesthood would be undermined, and that there would be many scandals in the priesthood. In 1917, Our Lady of Fatima prophesied that Russia would spread her errors throughout the world if man did not repent, pray the rosary, and do penance. At the time, practically no one could understand why Our Lady would speak so strongly about something coming from Russia, as it was an unimportant country. In looking back, we can see that 1917 is the date of the Bolshevik Revolution, which brought about communism as the rule in Russia. Our Lady of La Salette foretold, quote, "The church will be in eclipse," end quote. The apparition of Our Lady of La Salette, like that of Our Lady of Good Success, is not very well known, because both have messages concerning the failings of the government of the church. Dr. Bella V. Dodd, after she had left the Communist Party, warned in the 1950s that the Communists had been infiltrating the Catholic Church for over 15 years. She said, quote, "We have our men in the highest places and they are working to bring about change," end quote, so that, quote, "in 10 or 15 years you will not recognize the Catholic Church," end quote. This is taken from a publication of the Fatima Center entitled "The Revelations of the Holy Face of Jesus" by John Benari. Who, other than the Communists, would have the ability to take control of the Sacred Congregation of Rites, produce a destructive doctrine, and then prevent the exposure of the wrong done? The third secret of Fatima was to be released to the public in 1960, just 2 years after the release of the instruction by the Sacred Congregation of Rites. The third secret was not released to the public, as it was instructed to have been, but rather it was read and hidden away. We have 3 apparitions of the Blessed Virgin Mary: Our Lady of Good Success in 1610, Our Lady of La Salette in 1846, and Our Lady of Fatima in early 1917, with the first and second talking about the problems in the church that were going to develop, and the third talking about atheistic communism becoming a serious concern. Is it possible that the third secret, which came out of the apparitions of Our Lady of Fatima, was about the same issue that Our Lady had spoken of in the prophecies of Our Lady of Good Success concerning the middle of the 20th century, and that also was spoken of by Our Lady of La Salette? Were all 3 apparitions speaking of the same type of problems, and were these problems to be at the hands of the communists who had infiltrated the church? The upside of the prophecies of Our Lady of Good Success is that she prophesies that a prelate would come forth and return the church to the fullness of the faith. We see that restoration of the faith happening today because of a prelate's work. Praise be God.